So it was about 12 years ago now. I was sitting in the gym and I got the phone call from a lad I knew. I was waiting on my mate coming to train, and he calls us. He said, "Luke, unfortunately there's been a bit of a situation last night. Dean was out, it's my friend, and he was assaulted, and he's not going to survive the night." And I was sitting in the gym and I was waiting for him to show up and train like we used to 3 times a week, every week, and I was told he's got hours to live. And so obviously I was quite shocked at that time. I had to go up the RVI in Newcastle and see him lying, tubes coming out of him, very unresponsive, still conscious, but and the nurse was giving him an injection of some kind. And I said, what's happening? And she said, he's going to die. Now I was 23 at the time, and he was 25, I believe. And a couple of years before that, his dad died. And so his grandma was left without a son and a grandson. And what I'd found out was that what had happened is the night before, he was on a night in the drink in Newcastle, and they were at the takeaway at the end of the night, and they were having that takeaway and they were chucking some chips at each other, messing about, and one chip hit this other guy, and this guy instantly got aggressive and he punched my mate Dean, and he punched him hard and he hit his head on some railings and he hit the ground, brain injury. Didn't die instantly, but completely wiped out, and then within 12-15 hours he was dead from one punch. Now, as I think back to that, it was quite difficult for us to deal with, because I'd known Dean for many years. We've been good friends. I remember he took us out in his Audi sometimes. He'd show us how fast it would go down the motorway, and I was so scared. And I remember he used to always cut his grass. He was always going on about his grass, and he had loads of problems with women. He's always on this date and that date, and he had the stinkiest farts. He had the stinkiest farts. And he was just a lovely lad. And one punch, one aggressive bout took the lad's life. Now, what gets me thinking here, and what I had to deal with, was a lot of aggression issues behind that, as you could imagine. Like at first, you're really angry at the person, you're angry at what happened. You yourself react out of anger when you hear things like that. And ultimately, anger just destroys. I mean, we're all capable of overreacting, but sometimes our anger can be fatal. And I guess I'm telling you this story because how many times have you wanted to punch somebody? I know I have. I know I've been so angry that I've wanted to attack somebody. I've wanted to get very angry, and unfortunately some of us do go down that route where we overreact and we let our emotions get ahead of ourselves. And so once that story always stays with me now forever, and I always think when I get too angry I need to do something with that anger. And I've learned over the years to try and control that anger and sort of let it gravitate into something more useful. And with Dean, when I actually met Dean, we met through the gym, because that's how we used to get rid of our anger. We used to be in the gym working our bodies, doing something physical to release that physical emotion. Rather than hit someone, we hit something in the weights. We moved our bodies, we ran, we jogged, we did body weight stuff. We looked after our health as a result, because ultimately everybody has anger issues. Everyone has things that have happened to them as a kid or as a teenager or as an adult that they have a very angry perspective on. And so if that anger is not expressed in a relevant way, we will take it out often on somebody that triggers us, or even sometimes, unfortunately, someone who's close to us. But we always have a choice. And we always have a choice on how we choose to deal with our emotions. And I think what's important to learn from this whole thing is that although we might feel out of control, we always have a choice. And I'm now in the fortunate position where I'm a coach that gets to show people how to deal with their anger a bit more and use it constructively and physically. And even when I experience anger now, it's okay to feel it, it's okay to experience it, but what we must understand is that our actions have consequences. And people might think I'm really angry and rageful at the person who did this. And at first, obviously I was, like every one of his friends, every one of his family. You automatically want to blame somebody. You want to be angry at somebody. But ultimately that doesn't let you move forward. That doesn't let you move forward. What lets you forward is being at peace with where you are and where you're going. And is seeing it from a perspective of everyone has to move on. Everyone has to learn from the mistakes that we do in life and what we choose to do with our lives moving forward and how we can make a bigger impact to other people. See, every time I talk about Dean, it gives us a warm feeling to know that I was a good friend to him and that I knew him. But it's also a sad story that reminds me of how much pain a lot of men, specifically I'm talking to here, are going through, and how we handle our emotions, and how a lot of us need a lot more help at doing so. That was me included. When I was in my 20s, I didn't know how to handle my anger as such, fully. But one thing I did notice is that when I started to lift weights, when I started to move my body, I started to engage in a physical activity, could even be martial arts for some of you, that things improved. Not just physically, but mentally. See, mental health is a huge thing now, and especially for men, how we never tend to talk about it. And after that, actually, I got into a lot of cocaine and ecstasy, and I drank a lot, and I struggled a lot dealing with that and dealing with other things that just happens as a result of life as well. But we have to understand that it's our responsibility to manage our emotions. It's our responsibility to see a different side of it, to understand the lessons of other people's stories as well, and to not choose anger in the moment, to not let aggression get ahead of us, but get a handle on it before it gets too much. That could mean reaching out to somebody, I don't know, but people say talk about it, and whilst that's great advice, there's nothing wrong with that, we need to do something about it. We need to physically take control of our lives and do something with our bodies. This is why there's no substitute for the best antidepressant known to man, and that is physical exercise. It is the most underutilized antidepressant that, if I'm being in all honesty, if I didn't have in my life, I might not be here right now. Because I've had the depressive thoughts, I've had the anxiety, worries, and physical exercise, physical training, along with mindset techniques as well, has helped me through a lot. And hopefully this story will touch you in a way just to remind you, maybe you know somebody who's dealing with a lot of anger, or you yourself want to get help with your anger. And while there's no bad way to do it as such, I think you've got to find a way that works. You've got to find a way that helps you release that frustration, because it's energy at the end of the day. Anger is energy, and we need something to release that energy. And we need something to feel more energetic in ourselves, and healthier and more confident and more constructive in the way that we think and how we approach our habits. So please, just consider your own emotions today, and consider yourself, and consider what impact your decisions have on other people. If you have kids, they're going to follow what you do, not what you say. You're hanging about with all your friends, they're going to be influenced by what you do as well. We're all heavily influenced by who we hang around with, but you have an opportunity, you have a responsibility to handle your emotions and handle them as best as you can. And guess what? There's always room for upgrading. There's always room for improving. And there's always room for remembering this story as well, that just one outburst can be fatal. Don't let that be you. Don't let that be you.